Yeah, this is Penn Jillette, who has not been to the moon and never will go. Michael Goudreau hasn't gotten a word in edgewise. And we have Joe Rogan, the manly host of Fear Factor. And he's got some questions he's asking Phil Plait, the Bad Astronomy website. Let's give Phil's, what's your web address?
Yeah, let's do that. It's badastronomy.com.
That's easy.
Yeah.
And he's answering some of Joe's questions about the Apollo missions and going to the moon. And he had just given you a Clinton quote, and you'd given a snotty answer that Clinton maybe had lied.
These damn scientists always giving their snotty answers.
Snotty answers. Now, address that. Does that quote seem to make it seem like a man who was in office for 8 years and at least paying attention some of the time had some doubts about that?
You know, just because you're president doesn't make you immune to ideas that may not be true. I believe our current president is a creationist, and he may have some other wacky ideas. So the Apollo moon hoax idea has been in the popular culture.
Though, there's a massive difference between intelligence levels of our current and former president.
Oh, yeah. They're like inverse. I'll give you that.
But the other thing is that quote, Joe, even in the I don't think you took it out of context at all. That quote, the way it read when you read it, seemed to imply that he was kind of saying it perhaps with a wink. They do some amazing things on TV, talking about some other stuff you may have seen, and that does seem to have a little bit of wit to it and may not be saying clearly he doesn't believe we land on the moon. Or am I misinterpreting?
It's open to interpretation, but what concerned me is what he said was, during my 8 years in Washington, I saw some things on TV that made me wonder, meaning that he was privy to information like, I mean, we've all seen some weird deception labeled as propaganda. Like, what was that girl's name? Jessica something or other. They were trying to label as a hero during this.
Oh, yeah. Jessica Lynch?
Yes. Yeah. You remember that? When they were saying, they had to go in and rescue her, and she's like, I was in a hospital. What are you talking about?
But there wasn't really faked footage of that, was there?
No, there was no fake footage, but, I mean, how do we know that there's not fake footage? CNN...
If your point is that the government lies to us, and that's where this whole thing starts, so this is what makes me crazy about these things, is it is absolutely the government's fault. Joe's point is very well taken. If they're going to lie to us about this, and this, why aren't they lying about that?
Well, anyone who's read the Warren Commission report has got to have some questions about how the government handles things.
Well, up until this current administration, I would have said, well, if the government's going to lie to us, they're going to do a much better job than they did with the moon hoax conspiracy. I got to throw that one out the window now. But look, maybe Clinton was looking at his own footage of trying to find what is. But look, I'll grant, maybe he's talking about the moon hoax. Maybe he's saying, maybe we did do that or not. Smart people can believe things that are dumb. We see this all the time. Even, the smartest people in the world, they're Nobel laureates who go out and promote stuff like homeopathy and all kinds of garbage. And so, I'm not saying you have to be dumb to believe in the moon hoax. Not at all. I know a lot of smart people who have questions about it. Like, the parallel shadows and stuff like that.
You can be, things on the list.
And I'll admit, I'm not going to say I'm necessarily a smart guy, but some of the stuff had me baffled. Now, you mentioned intersecting shadows.
Yeah.
Now, on the Fox moon hoax show, which came out in 2001, they specifically used the phrase shadows intersect. They were actually using footage of Bart Sibrel, probably the leading moon hoax promulgator these days, and he said the shadows intersect. Now, I will tell you right now, if you can show me a picture where two shadows on the moon are physically intersecting, then I don't know what I'll do.
Well,
you'll have shown me up. Yes, I'll kiss Penn on the mouth. Yeah.
No. You might want to do that anyway. I don't know what your motives are.
Joe's done that anyway.
Yeah, okay.
So.
But it's funny.
He's just ahead of you on
But that's the word that Sibrel used. And in fact, shadows don't intersect. The shadows can't intersect
physically, but they are going in intersecting directions.
Yes. The shadows appear to converge. They appear to be looking like they're pointing in two different directions. You can think of it that way.
It would appear to be like from two different light sources.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. However, if there were two different light sources, you'd see two different shadows coming off of every object. So you can be pretty sure that's not what's going on. A better argument might be that if there were a light on the set, a nearby light, the shadows might appear to point in two different directions because of the angles. But in fact, shadows are non-parallel here on the Earth all the time, and you never see it. The reason for this, the reason they look non-parallel is simply perspective. It's the same thing that if you're standing in a set of railroad tracks, the railroad tracks appear to converge on the horizon, but you know the railroad tracks are parallel. They gotta be, or else the railroad can't run on them. It's the same thing. You have two objects sitting on the lunar surface. Typically one is nearby and one is far away, and that provides you a sense of perspective. Both shadows are in fact parallel, but because of perspective, they look like they're pointing in two different directions. You can actually find this on the web. If you look up, moon hoax parallel shadows in Google, you will find these. I've taken pictures myself. I talk about this. I give a talk about the moon hoax. I show pictures of lampposts in a park across the street from my house where the shadows are not even close to being parallel. Some of them are pointing right and some of them are pointing left, but they all appear to converge on the horizon, what's called the vanishing point, right? This thing you learn about in art class.
Right.
And so that's what's going on here. And it actually, you can be really fooled by this. And I will say that when I first heard this argument, I went, those shadows aren't parallel. And it took me a few minutes to go, oh, I get it. And then it made sense to me. But you see it all the time. You never notice it. Go outside if it's a sunny day. Pick two trees, and you'll see that the shadows, it's amazing. Everybody I talked about this, they go out and they go, wow, I never noticed that before. It's amazing what's in front of your face your whole life that you just don't notice.
Well, I'll have to check that out. I've never really looked into it other than looking at the pictures on the Internet and going,
Sure, we can leave this one open, but...
Now, what about all those hot spots? It looks like there's like a light source behind people.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring this up. Not because it's a good point, but because it's really hard to explain without images. But basically, the argument goes, if you look at the Apollo astronauts, some of them look like they're standing in a spotlight, like there's somebody literally standing there with a spotlight beaming a circle of light on these guys. And this is actually a fairly complicated physical effect. It's got a German name. It's called Heiligenschein. And basically, it is, how to explain this on the radio, right? Part of it has to do with the fact that when you're looking straight down the beam of light, when you're looking there are no shadows on the ground there. If you look off to the side, you see an object's shadow stretching behind it. But if you have a light shining on your head and you turn around and look at the shadow of your head, the light looks very bright there. It's a spotlight effect. I have pictures of this, actually, that I've taken in the infield of a baseball diamond. The dust has this peculiar property that it sort of throws light back in the direction it comes. So if you look at your own shadow, you're sort of seeing the sunlight reflecting off of the ground there stronger than around you. See, again, and people are in their cars thinking, this scientist guy is nuts. He's not making any sense. But this is what's going on. And in fact, if you get up early in the morning and there's dew on the grass and the sun is shining, you can actually see what looks like a soft glow around your head as you're walking down the street, and it looks like a halo around your head. It's really cool.
When's the last time you're up early in the morning, Joe?
Yeah, that's probably a bad point. I'm sorry.
Well, I go to bed sometimes early in the morning.
No, there you go. Yeah, there you go. So next time you're like slouching home, give that one a shot.
I'm planning to do in Vegas.
Yeah, man. But you know what? It works in dust really well. And it's really cool because I've got pictures of myself like that where I took a camera, turned around from the sun on this baseball infield, and there is a strong glow around my head. I love showing this when I give talks. But that's what the spotlight effect is.
So it's just dust and the sun and the shadow.
Yeah.
It's a visual anomaly.
It's like an optical illusion, like a halo around the sun or something like that. It really is just that. It's really cool.